Chapter 17. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John, his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. So Peter, James, and John were in Jesus's close inner circle and were often alone with him. So Jesus had 12 disciples, yes, but he had like that even tighter knit circle between Peter, James, and John. Verse 2, and he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. So transfigured means like a metamorphosis, a complete change of form or appearance into a more beautiful or spiritual state. Why? So they could behold his glory, a change on the outside that comes from the inside. So Jesus is showing them what's up right now. Verse 3, and behold, there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with him. So representing the law, so that this represents the law and the prophets respectively. Both had foretold Christ's death. This is what Luke says they were discussing. Luke 9:31, if you want to see that. Verse 4, and Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. So 3 tents. The 3 tabernacles, the Feast of Tabernacles, when the Israelites dwelt in the booths for 7 days. That's what he's talking about. In verse 5, he was still speaking when behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and a voice from the cloud said, this is my beloved son with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. So let's see what I put here. Peter is putting Jesus, Elijah, and Moses on the same level. God stops him and is like, no, listen to Jesus. Like Elijah and Moses were obviously extremely important, but they're not as important as Jesus. Okay. Jesus laid aside his glory when he came to earth. He came humbly and he left humbly. So him showing them himself this way is a really big deal. He's from Nazareth and not a great place. He's with all these sinners. You know, he's been very lowly up until this point. Verse 6, when the disciples heard this, they fell on their faces and were terrified. I think that's funny. I mean, I'm sure I would be terrified too. That's a very weird thing to happen, crazy thing. Even though they know Jesus personally and they're friends with him. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, rise and have no fear. And when they lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. Okay, the disciples had to learn that suffering and glory go together. Jesus had to teach them that without his suffering, there would be no glory. His suffering was not an accident, but an accomplishment. Verse 9, and as they were coming down the mountain, Jesus commanded them, tell no one the vision until the Son of Man is raised from the dead. And the disciples asked him, then why do the scribes say that first Elijah must come? He answered, Elijah does come, and he will restore all things. But I tell you that Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, and they did to him whatever they pleased. All right, so they had been taught that Elijah would come first to prepare for the establishing of the kingdom. Spiritually speaking, Elijah already came in the person John the Baptist.
Yeah, Mom. It's singing.
It's singing?
Yeah, let's come down, Mama.
Okay, well, hold on. I'm talking to my friends.
But yeah, let's come down. It's gonna be so much fun.
You want me to dance with you?
Huh?
Okay. Okay, sorry. I had to do a dance party. Okay. Where was I? So also the Son of Man will certainly suffer at their hands. Then the disciples understood that he was speaking to them of John the Baptist. So the nation permitted John to be killed and would ask Jesus to be slain. So they're thinking that Jesus is John the Baptist, that he's Elijah. Okay, hold on. So also verse 12, but I tell you that Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but did to him whatever they pleased. So also the Son of Man will certainly suffer at their hands. So John the Baptist came. They didn't realize that that was Elijah. Jesus is here. They don't realize that it's him. You know, they killed John the Baptist. They're obviously going to kill Jesus. Then the disciples understood that he was speaking to them of John the Baptist. They're like, oh, Elijah was John the Baptist. I get it. Okay, verse 14. And then they came to the crowd, and a man came up to him and kneeling before him said, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he has seizures and he suffers terribly. For often he falls into the fire and often into the water. Mark talks more about this story in chapter 9, if you want to go. So, for often he falls into the fire and often into the water. So, imagine this helpless boy. How desperate would I be as a mom for Jesus to help my son? So in Mark, this demon tries to make it seem like the boy was dead, but Jesus raised him up and gave him to his father. Verse 16, and I brought him to your disciples, and they could not heal him. And Jesus answered, O faithless and twisted generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him here to me. And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the boy was healed instantly. So we can gather here, Jesus is obviously very frustrated that these 9 disciples had grown spiritually weak while Jesus went to the mountain. So remember, James and John and Peter were at the mountain. So there were 9 left down, not on the mountain. So they had grown spiritually weak while Jesus went to the mountain. Lack of spiritual discipline. The enemy had room to attack while Jesus was on the mountain with his 3 disciples. He said to them, because of your little faith, for truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. So let's talk about mustard seeds. Seeds are living, they grow. Even if our faith starts out tiny, we must nurture it. Cultivate your faith and it will grow. Verse 22. As they were gathering in Galilee, Jesus said to them, the Son of Man is about to be delivered into the hands of men, and they will kill him, and he will be raised on the 3rd day. And they were greatly distressed. Okay, so this miracle is only recorded by Matthew. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's keep going. Verse 24. When they came to Capernaum, the collectors of the 2 drachma tax went up to Peter and said, does your teacher not pay the tax? He said, yes. And when he came into the house, Jesus spoke to him first, saying, what do you think, Simon? From whom do kings of the earth take toll or tax? From their sons or from others? And when he said from others, Jesus said to him, then the sons are free. Okay, so Jesus is a king and was then a king and didn't have to pay the tax. So this miracle was only recorded by Matthew, a former tax collector. How funny that he wanted to put this story in there about the tax. Kings don't take taxes from their sons. Jesus is the Son of God. So Jesus is the Son of God. Kings don't take taxes from their sons. So Jesus didn't need to pay tax. However, not to give offense to them, go to the sea and cast a hook and take the first fish that comes up. When you open its mouth, you will find a shekel. Take that and give it to them for me and say for yourself. Take that and give it to them for me and for yourself. Okay, so this is the only miracle that doesn't have the results recorded. We can just assume that this happened and that, you know, the tax was forgiven. So God provided this, the tax money for Jesus. So Jesus didn't want to stir this pot. So he provided for his own need. This is the only time we see Jesus provide for himself. He didn't want the people to stumble, so he performed this miracle. Jesus didn't hesitate to break man-made traditions of the Pharisees, but he was careful to obey God's laws. I thought that was really interesting. This is also the only miracle using money. This is the only miracle using 1 fish. Jesus usually multiplied the fish, but Jesus in this miracle only uses 1 fish. And all it takes is 1. We all know that. Okay. Was that it? I think that's it. Yeah. That was fast. Chapter 17. All right. Well, I still think it's so funny that Matthew. So I've been watching The Chosen, and if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. The only thing that I could say is that some things in the story are not necessarily true from the Bible. Like the actual stories are true, but there are obviously a lot of things that they had to put in there, like situations that they had to put in there that they thought might have happened, or conversations they thought might have gone this way or that way. And they could be wrong for sure, but they definitely have, the miracles in there. They do have a lot of scripture in there. They just basically had to fill in a lot of blanks, which can be very dangerous. So we do need to watch with discernment, but I do feel like the show comes from a very good place, and I have absolutely loved it. If you haven't watched The Chosen, you can watch it free on the Chosen app, or you can choose to donate, because that's how they pay for this show, all donor funded. And I'm like not sponsored by them or anything. That's just what Caleb and I decided to do. But it is a wonderful show, and I just love the humanity that it shows of the disciples and of Jesus. And you can just imagine their conversations going that way, or you can imagine the disciples probably acting that way or feeling that way in Jesus too. And then, we see Jesus get frustrated a lot in Matthew. And I love how they portray that in The Chosen, because you can see, especially in season 2, episode 1, Jesus getting frustrated, but in such a loving way. Like I would get frustrated with my kids about their behavior, So it's just a very beautiful story, and it just brings humanity to the characters. So if you have time, I really recommend that you watch it, but obviously be discerning and know that a lot of things that happen in The Chosen aren't recorded in the Bible. They're just assumptions of what could have been said or could have happened, or a certain way that things could have gone based on other scripture. So be careful with that. But anyway, that was chapter 17. I'm gonna go continue to dance with my son and get my daughter out of her crib, because she still refuses to nap. So hope y'all have a great day.
I didn't know it was over. Take care of you.